Welcome to the Real Estate Roundtable Podcast, where we sit down with some of the most successful real estate agents, brokers, and team leaders to learn about their journeys in this industry. I'm your host, Art Bettuzzi, and as a seasoned real estate agent of 29 years, I'm always fascinated by the stories of how others found success in this business. On this podcast, we'll be talking to our guests about the obstacles they overcame, the lessons they learned, and the tips and strategies they're using in today's ever-changing market. Whether you're a real estate agent, broker, team leader, investor, or just someone interested in real estate, you're in the right place. Our guests come from a variety of backgrounds, and they all have unique insights to share. We want to have fun with these interviews, but we also want to make sure that you come away with actionable tips that you can implement in your own business. New episodes will be released weekly, so be sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks for joining us on the Real Estate Roundtable Podcast. Let's get started. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Real Estate Roundtable Podcast. I'm your host, Art Bettuzzi, and I'm joined today by another former student of mine, another great former student of mine. This time, I'm joined by Latoya.moore. And Latoya has been a real estate broker, I think we're going on about 5 years, maybe 4. I'll let her tell you.
I started in, I started in 2020?
Was it?
So I got my license. Let me see. I think it was about 2020 because I got my license. Was it 2019?
Yeah, it had to be. So you were in class in 2019.
Yeah. And I kicked off. So I remember getting my license. It come in, like I passed in October and I got the license in December. And so kicked it off in 2020.
Excellent. So it's really only been 3.5 years that you've been licensed. Fantastic. Well, Latoya is with Dreamtown Realty in Chicago. And, here's the thing. As I do with all of my students, I follow the career of my students, usually through social media, as all of you already know that, right? And I have watched Latoya's progress. And actually, we've seen each other occasionally throughout the years. And the thing that I find interesting about Latoya, not that there's not everything interesting about Latoya, because she's got some stuff going on. We're going to talk about this. So in class, Latoya had already started working in Airbnbs. So this is 2019. I personally didn't know that much about Airbnbs. And so when she was talking about it in class, I found that to be very interesting. And I found that her command of Airbnb was, exceptional, to the point that I was like, man, sister, you should be teaching this. And it's really funny. She said, well, I am teaching this. And I was like, well, great. That's fantastic. Because I think people need to learn what you know how to do. Yeah. So when I was coming up with a list of the interesting people that I wanted to talk to on the podcast, you are obviously on my list, just specifically because of your Airbnb experience. And I know that there's a lot of people that are really interested in that aspect of real estate. So let me start by saying, how and why did you get interested in real estate to begin with?
So first of all, I had no desire to be a realtor. I got into it because I purchased a property back in 2015 for my mom. 2 years later, 2017, she passed away. So I was going through some things, in life, and I decided I wanted to sell the building. And my cousin, Taylor, came in from, I think he was in North Carolina. He came in from my other cousin's, his brother's bachelor party. And he said, won't you, try Airbnb? And I was like, what is that? And so he told me, he's like, it's where people rent out their personal space as like a hotel. And so I was like, are you serious? And he was like, yeah. So I still had quite a few of her things, and I was able to set it up right away. And so I set it up, and I called it Just Like Home. And within like 24 hours, I had got 2 bookings. I had taken pictures. I set the rate. At the time, I started out kind of low, like $99 per night to get the people in. And then, the bookings just kept coming. So I actually, just prayed about it, because it's, now I have people coming into a space that's sentimental to me because it was for her. So I prayed about it, and I changed the name to Dorothy's Place, because if it hadn't been for my mom, whose name is Dorothy, I wouldn't have bought the building. And it seemed like when I changed the name to Dorothy's Place, it skyrocketed.
Really?
It just took off. Yeah. I only had one tenant, and that was during her transition. And then because that, which was a good friend of mine, her mother transitioned in January. But after she moved out 2018, I've been doing Airbnb ever since, haven't had one tenant. And so I started teaching the course because it's very lucrative. I started learning more about it, teaching it, and going through the city to understand how to get through the red tape and everything, how to get set up really quickly. And once I started teaching the course, many people started asking me, well, can you manage? And I'm like, okay, property management, I can do that. But then I was told, you need a real estate license to do property management. So that's how I came to art. I contacted a few people that I know in real estate and was like, how do I do this? Like, okay, go to art, go to this school. So I went and I took a 2-week accelerated class. And then I came back like a week to just get, make sure I was grounded on the math. And I passed the real estate exam my first try. And, after that 2-week accelerated class, which was people were like, no, really, you did? I'm like, yeah, I did. And so once I announced that I was a realtor and I was going to be helping people manage, property management with Airbnb, it was like, no. Everybody started, can you help me buy? Can you help me sell? And in the first year of real estate, like my first 6 months, I had did 5.5 million.
In your first 6 months?
Yeah. I didn't even get a chance to do Airbnb property management because it just took off. And it's been taking off ever since. Every year that I've been a realtor, I've been successfully manage a $5.5 million, business. And all of that is referrals. Like, I'm very transparent on social media about who I am in my life and some of the struggles that I went through. I almost lost my life to endometriosis back in 2017, where I had a bowel obstruction. I had to wear colostomy bags. So I think, it makes you relatable when people know that you are human just like them, even though you may be some type of big influencer, but at the end of the day, you're still human. And I just think by me sharing my story about things going on in my personal life, it grew my audience, because I'm the same person online that you see in public. Probably you're going to get a little bit more bubbly in public, but I'm who I am online in person. And that's how I got into Airbnb. And it's been really great. I don't want a tenant because, we make quite, good money. I just remodeled my Airbnbs, and I have guests in there now. We've been booked back to back, back to back, back to back. So even during COVID, my Airbnb was booked.
Really?
Yeah, I had no downtime, and it's the easiest business I've ever run. The only thing I do, and people think like you got to be kidding. Only thing I do is put out the laundry, and that's because I just want to do something. Meaning, we have our own cleaning service. We have a laundry pickup and drop off. So once my cleaner tells me, hey, it's time to send the laundry out, she already has everything's in a bag. I just go pull it out and, give the laundry people the code, and they can come in. Or my brother, he assists me a lot. He'll let them in and they'll grab the bags and then they'll bring them right back in 24 hours.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Mm-hmm. So I'm just, I'm fascinated by this. I want to come back to the first 6 months of your career in a minute, but let's just talk a little bit about Dorothy's Place a little bit more, because one of the things that I found interesting, and I have found interesting as you've been going along here, is that you have a very unique way, I think. Maybe it's not unique, but of making sure that people follow the rules of Dorothy's Place.
Oh, yeah.
Don't you? So why don't you explain what you do and how, what kind of, I know you've run into some situations where you're like, all right, that's it, you're out of here.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yep. Yeah. So when you set up your Airbnb, there's a list of rules that they have to agree to and abide by, even when they're hitting that reservation button. So right above that reservation button, after you've read the description, after you completed and payment process, and it's going to say you agree to no pets, you agree to no parties, you agree to no smoking, all those rules. And once you hit, book reservation, and it also says if any rules are violated, you will be immediately removed from the premises. You are well aware of the consequences of you violating my rules. And some people, they just try you. So for some of the ways that I've successfully had people removed from my Airbnb for things like smoking marijuana, we don't allow it. Smoking cigarettes, we don't allow it. Having parties, we don't allow it. And pets, we don't allow it. I have great friends at the Chicago police station, so that helps me out if I need them. But a way to get them successfully removed, we do have cameras on the property externally. And so we can see if somebody's having a party, and which we have. For example, I was staying in Aurora, and my brother would call, and I knew it was a problem when he said, look at the cameras. So I would go to my phone, look at the cameras, and I'm like, so that means I got to come all the way from Aurora because I have to put these people out. And I just remember it was one big party. The girl said, can I just have a couple of people over? It's my birthday. I said, because I don't mind it, right? Like I can't, it's just like a hotel. You're going to have people come to your hotel. But she had a red carpet roll down the driveway. And when I was pulling up, you can see my building off the main street off Laramie. There were the disco lights going. You can see it. And then there was a limo pull up. It was like a video. And I just said, come on, you got to go. Because it was so many people that came out of the second floor, 3-bedroom apartment. It was ridiculous. And she knew she violated my rules. So not only did she get put out, she we kept her $500 security deposit, and she didn't get any of her money back. But the first thing I do before I even talk to the guests about, hey, you have to leave, I call Airbnb and say, hey, this is what's going on. I just want to make you aware before I even address the tenant, the guests. And then they already are aware. And then Airbnb will back me up. They'll call them and say, you have to leave the premises or we will call the police for her.
Really? Okay. So now that's interesting to me because I didn't know that. So Airbnb really gets that involved in terms of their hosts?
Yeah, I'm what they call a super host. So on a 5-star scale, I have a 4.9, and I've been doing Airbnb since 2018. So that's pretty good. So they really want to maintain and keep their super host in good standings, especially when you have those types of ratings.
Right. And so they have like a hotline that you call and say, hey, this is the situation, and they then take it from there. Or so is this as a way to avoid the person calling them and saying, I want my money back because they wouldn't let me in or any of that stuff?
Yeah, so I recommend when you see a problem, before you even address the guest, you call Airbnb. They have a customer service, because if you address them first, they'll try to say, oh, she did this, or no, I wasn't doing this, or I wasn't doing that. So, and then you want to have proof. So every time that there's been a party, when I called Airbnb, I always send them proof of the camera. Like, I'll capture people coming in or whatever's going on so it can't be disputed. But it also helps because even though you put them out, they still have the ability to give you a review. And of course they want to retaliate because you put them out. And so what that does, by having all that backup and being proactive and calling Airbnb first, Airbnb will remove that review because they know that it's retaliatory. So.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Great. I didn't realize that either.
Yeah. So you have to, just follow those steps. And I've been successful with following that way. And it's like, okay, hey, we know this review is because you put them out, and they'll look, I mean, they'll see that your other reviews and see that you don't have any problems or whatever they may come up with to say that you're lying on them. And they will remove the review within 24 hours.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah.
Again, not something I realized. That's awesome. So back to Dorothy's house. So, you actually go yourself and say, that's it, you're out?
Yeah, sometimes I go myself. But what's wonderful right now is, so I do have a brother so this building is a legal 2-unit, but we have a guardian unit. So I have one of my oldest brothers, he stays in the guardian unit. And since I've become a realtor, I've helped all of my siblings purchase a property, 2 of them on the same block as the Airbnb. So if I'm not in the area, they'll come. So it's a family business at this point. Like my siblings, they all chip in. My cleaner is actually my baby sister, and we get rave reviews on how clean the Airbnb is. And that's the way our mom taught us. She taught us to be very meticulous when it comes to cleaning. So we are very much, anal about being very, very clean. So that's been one of our, we've never had an issue as far as the cleaning. They always say how clean it is. And she does a good job. So it's family run.
There you go. I love that. Do you so do Airbnbs have like a season? I mean, is it constant?
For me, by the grace of God, it's been constant. Like I said, even with COVID, I still had Airbnb, and people, my laundry pick up and drop off. They're like, what are you doing? Because you are like the only Airbnb we're servicing during COVID. And I think it's because of the service that we provide. Like when you see, especially during COVID, and they come and see, and everybody's saying how clean it is, you know that person is taking time to clean and disinfect, because I have over, I want to say 150 reviews, and all the glory is they're raving about, how clean it is. So it's constant for me. Even in the area I'm in the Austin community, and we have quite a few development over here. We just had a multi-million-dollar community center called built over here. Michelle Clark High School, Christ the King is over here. So there's a lot of great things going on in this area, but it's central to downtown. We are right off the 290. You can walk outside and take one bus to the Green Line. You can go the other way and take one walk to the Blue Line. So we are convenient to everything. Like my guests here that are here right now, they are here for the Little Dirk concert, which is at the United Center. We're 10 minutes from the United Center.
Wow.
And so we provide parking. We do, they get free parking on the premises, private. So even if the street is free, but they get private parking on the property. We also do a white linen service. And when I first started, I would give them Dorothy, my mom's favorite snacks. So now we just figure out, hey, why are you coming? And if they're coming for a birthday party, they may walk into some flowers and blooms, or, a bottle of wine, depending on how old they are. We do kind of have an age restriction, but a lot of the kids, they reach out, they'll say, I know I'm only 18. Can I still book? We promise we won't do anything. And I let them know, hey, I'll put you out. Like, don't, I'm going to let you go, but I'm gonna put you out if you act up. And yeah, and those that have come, and they've been really, really good kids.
Well, that's nice. So just out of curiosity, what kind of people, I mean, is it for just anybody that are looking to be in the Chicagoland area?
Crazy part about it, majority of my guests are like international guests.
Really?
I don't let local, meaning Chicago residents, book my Airbnb, because you live in Chicago. What you need an Airbnb for? So I know you're just coming to have a party. You're not going to mess up Dorothy's place. And majority of my guests, they are international guests. They come from all over, and they are really, really surprised at the structure of our real estate landscape, because they'll come in and say, wait a minute, this is a whole building. So it's two of these. It's two of these in one building. And I'm like, actually, it's three. So a lot of cities or countries don't have the real estate landscape like Chicago has, where you have multi-units and you have the ability to generate this much income on one property. So they are mesmerized. And I've gotten real estate clients from Airbnb. Because in Airbnb, there's a description about who the host is and what I do. And once they found out I'm a realtor, they've either sent people to me or they've come to me and say, hey, I'm moving to Chicago. Can you help me? And that's the way I market myself too. I keep some of my marketing materials in my Airbnb.
Wow, that's pretty good.
Yeah. No down season for me.
No down season. Excellent. So Dorothy's place is you have 2 units that get rented. Is that it?
So what has happened, I was living in Aurora. In 2019, I purchased a single family home in Aurora for $265. And I'm going to be talking about this because I have a podcast coming too. But I purchased at the time it was a 4-bedroom, 2.5-bath home in Aurora, right across the street from the park. And I just sold it this past April. I purchased it for $265 and I sold it for $460.
Wow.
And so I took that money that I made. So the Airbnb income alone helped me qualify to buy that home. That home sold for double. I was able to remodel the Airbnbs. I moved back on the second floor of the Airbnbs. I doubled the price on the first floor, and I'm still making the same income as 2 Airbnbs for 1 Airbnb. And I've taken the money, the money that I've made off the sale of my home to purchase more buildings. So I'll be closing on one of them next week. It is right around the corner from this Airbnb. All of them are in the same area. It's actually my childhood friends. I'm purchasing their building.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah.
So before next week, right now you have Dorothy's place.
Yes.
You have the home. Well, you sold the home in Aurora.
Yep.
But do you have any other buildings right now before you close on this other one?
No. So we just got this one. And then I'm working on, there's another one on the block that we are negotiating for. So it'll be me personally owning 3 altogether if I get this other one, but definitely closing on another one next week. But my brothers, so as a family, we have within this block 4 properties within 2 blocks.
Wow.
Yeah.
If you don't mind me asking, what kind of income does your Airbnb generate for you?
So this one Airbnb makes $40,000 a year.
So that's clear.
That's me. Yep. Because everything is family run. Yeah. So after I paid, it pays for everything. Like I'm living back in my Airbnb, double the price of the first floor to get the same income that I was making for the whole building. I'm living mortgage free, rent free. I don't pay anything. My income that I do for everything else is all mine.
Right.
So the Airbnb takes care of everything. I don't have to do anything.
Wow. And that's just one. That's just one Airbnb. Wow.
One Airbnb.
So that is the power of Airbnb.
Yep. I went from 1 to 2 and still making the same money that I was making on 2 on 1 because so you can maximize Airbnb in so many ways. So that's just Airbnb money, right? Like I'm making $40,000 just letting people come. They normally come Thursday through Sunday or Friday through Monday or Friday through Sunday. We've been getting a lot of more weekday people versus weekend people. So that has increased. But as far as, you can make so much more money when you have a property like this. So I remodeled it so people can use it for content space. So now you can come use it for content space. I created a podcast station. We're going to redo the backyard next year to have.
Hang on, because I'm an old guy. Mm-hmm. What does content space mean?
So say you need somewhere to come, create content for your podcast or for your business. You can come take pictures. You can come to do your own podcast or anything of that nature. I'm also on this website called Gigster, and for 6 hours, but I was already booked. But for 6 hours, I could have made $3,000 because they wanted to come film. So I'm on a couple of websites where, movie directors, if they need a space to film on the west side, I'm on that site as well. So I really maximize this property.
Wow, that's fantastic. Yeah. So that's in addition to the Airbnb, the people who are staying the weekends, primarily 4 or 5 days or 3 or 4 days. That's wild. That's great. And you know, it seems like, and I don't mean to be dismissive at all, but it seems like you're I mean, you're above average, but you're just a normal person that is doing this. So I mean, anybody could really do this, right?
Yeah, I just think you have to have a great knack for people, like your customer service, be communicative. I think what helps me a lot is my corporate background. So I'm very structured. The same way that I'm structured in corporate America is the same way I'm structured in entrepreneurship. I'm communicating, I'm meeting deadlines, I'm following up. Everything is done at the click of my phone. People are like, how you manage Airbnb and real estate? It's the phone. You know, if something's going on, the guest is going to send me a message in the app. But also, again, my brother helps me. So I have in my Airbnb app, you know, contact this person first. If you can't contact him, you contact me. So my brother already knows he wants to take care of it because he don't want to hear my mouth. He's gonna make sure whatever happened needs to get done. Now, if it's something that he can't do, he's gonna say, Toy, you know, okay, you got to come do this, and then we'll handle it. But for the most part, they have everything they need. We try to make sure they are fully stocked because it's the weekend, right? And we don't want to be bothered either. You know, we want to make it run like a hotel. We don't even have to, they check in. They don't have to, I don't have to give them a key. It's a keypad. They get a code. And once they leave, their code gets deactivated and changed for the next guest. So I don't have to do anything.
So you have though programs that you use, tools that you use to be able to do all of this.
Yeah.
And do you teach that stuff in your course?
Yes. Yep. Because you want Airbnb to run. Like I'm the type of person, as I get older, I want to do things that don't require my presence. If I have to be here, then that means it's going to take away from me from doing something else that I love or want to do. So I make sure everything is automated. You know, they have a guest book. So if they need to know anything about the house, it's in the guest book. When they check in, the day of check-in, they get the check-in instructions. They don't get it the day before. Some people have tried to come early, and I'm like, what are you doing? You can see them on the cameras. And so they'll get the check-in instructions the morning of their check-in, and it has all of the details of what they need to do. And then the day before check out, they get the check out instructions. And it's all automated. Like I don't have to go on my app and send it. It's already set up to send it the day before the checkout.
Got it. And so is that all run through Airbnb, or do you have separate systems that handle it?
It's all run through Airbnb. Since I started, Airbnb has really ramped up their technology to make everything seem streamlined and automated for the host.
And plus it gets people to just keep using the Airbnb app.
Yeah.
You know, which is of course what they want. They want people to stay on their platform.
Yeah. And another thing I do with my guests, you can call me, but first communicate with me through the app, because if something's happening and you're calling me, I have no proof. So if they call me, I'll say, hey, they'll say, this is my issue. And I say, hey, can you send me that message via the app? Because I communicate better via the app. Sometimes I'm not at my phone, but that's the way of protecting you, because if there's an issue and you call Airbnb and you have no proof, it's a he say, she say. So I try to make sure all communication is in the app, because Airbnb does have a $1 million policy for us, just in case something happens, something gets damaged, or the guests do something that causes, harm to the property or whatever. But you want to have that proof. And if you don't, it's going to be hard.
Got it. Well, it seems like, you've built yourself, a business with Airbnb. Obviously, you're expanding that business with Airbnb, and it obviously your siblings as well have done similar things. So really Airbnb has been a pretty nice chunk of your business.
Yeah, right? It's been a great help. Like it just opened the door to me coming into real estate. Like had I not gotten the license to do property management, that was my overall goal, like do property management. I had a lot of people coming, and to be honest, doing real estate is easier than doing property management.
Right.
So I didn't even get a chance to even start the property management. So the best thing, so I'm like, you know what, this is more use of my time. and more lucrative to teach the class and just run the Airbnbs versus running property management, because property management, people are going to be harassing you all day and night. And so I can't do that when I work full time.
So let's talk about that a second. So you're doing all of this and you have a full-time job.
Yeah. Yep. I'm in finance for Google FP&A. And so I have, Google has a great work-life balance, if I might add. So I'm 3 days in the office and 2 days at home. But I also have a person on my real estate team. Her name is Denise Warren. So if I need help with anything, she's there to back me. She's a real estate agent too with Dreamtown. So, and I have other people, so, I can pay another agent. But for the most part, one thing, when it comes to my clientele, everybody wants to work with you. They don't care if you have people on your team. So they get very, very personal. So for the most part, we work these schedules out where they are, seeing properties, most of them are working people. So they want to see the properties probably after 4 anyway, which is perfect for me because that's what time I'm probably leaving the office, between 3 and 4. And if I'm working from home, there's a little bit more flexibility there. So, but if I need any type of assistance, I have 2 people that can make sure that my clients are taken care of.
That's great. And so you got the full-time job, and then you have your real estate.
Yeah.
And so last year, what was your overall production, meaning overall sales production?
Last year, I did 5.5 million, and that was 26 units.
26 units, 5.5 million. And again, that I don't want to say it's part-time because it's not, because you're working on it all the time, but that's still with a full-time job.
Yes.
So the fact is that you are selling what somebody working full-time in real estate without a full-time job, aspires to sell, at least in their first couple of years, and you're doing it with a full-time job.
Yep. And I've done it. It's 3 years. I've done 5.5 million every 3 years. And the realtors that do above that, they are doing it full time. Like they have no other jobs. So I get it. But I tell people all the time, they're like, oh, so you did this, you did great numbers. I said, look, I'm striving for balance and peace. So if you do 20 million, great. I'm okay doing this 5.5 because guess what? It takes a lot to do that 20 million. 5.5 is easy for me. I can do it in my sleep. I'm not out all night. People, I'm grateful for my network. I'm grateful for my family. I'm grateful for my friends, but also it's you as well. Like people, you have to have great customer service, detail oriented, follow up with people, be very communicative. I over communicate and I also educate, because had I known about real estate when I bought this building, I would have had so many more buildings. But, I learned, and look what I'm doing now. I'm getting multiple properties and I'm building my own real estate portfolio. And I've touched on every area. So I'm building a more master workshop class for real estate because I've done a gut rehab, renovation. I've done Airbnb. Now I'm going into assisted living, done property management. I've touched on every stream of income you can make in real estate within 3 years.
That's pretty wild. So hang on a second, because we haven't talked about assisted living. Why don't you share what that is? What are you doing there?
So assisted living is kind of like the same thing with Airbnb. You are tailoring your property to meet the needs of seniors. Depending on how you go about it, they can fund it as well. So some people don't want to go into assisted living home. Some people don't want to go into a nursing home. They still want that same lifestyle, but at the convenience of somebody else. So you pretty much provide that space. You make sure it's assisted living, ready, whether it be walk-in showers, the rails. You get to pick what type of, assistant the guests or the tenants would be as well. So I'm what they call an individual unit. Like the higher you are, like the more you have to provide. So the level that I'm on, I don't have to provide any type of, they can take care of themselves. They don't need any of my assistants or nurse assistant. It's just assistant, they just be able to come in and they get to rent it out, and you get money per bed, which is going to be very much more lucrative than Airbnb.
Right. So if I've got this right, because I've certainly heard of this, and I've certainly seen other people do these kinds of things, is that you have how many bedroom house is the one that or property you're working on?
So my new building is literally the same setup as my current building. 3 bedrooms, 1 bath.
Okay.
And it's huge. Living room, dining room, separate, eating, kitchen. It has a basement with laundry, but it also has that we're turning that into a unit as well. So it'll be a legal 3-unit with laundry, and all units have private on the premises parking.
Wow, awesome. So you'd put 2 people per bedroom essentially?
Yeah, there's 3 bedrooms in each, but I'm only going to do 2. Because
Okay.
I think it could be a bit much if it had 2 bathrooms, I would probably go ahead and do the 3rd one. So the 3rd one, which is actually a little smaller room, you can still get a queen bed. I'm going to make it a little fitness area for those tenants in that unit.
Oh, that's nice.
So they can do physical therapy. Yep.
So you'd have 4 people per unit.
Yeah.
And they pay every month per bed.
Yeah, you can literally make $5,000 per bed.
Per bed per month? No,
yeah.
Not.
Yeah.
Per bed?
Yeah. Yeah.
For assisted living?
Yep. You can.
Wow.
You have to think so. And I learned about this because my mom was in assisted living, and by the grace of God, I was blessed to get assistance for her. So when I got sick and she had to go into assisted living home, she was at Victory Center in Melrose Park. And, we had no planning. Like this was not the end game goal that we thought. This was not how we thought she was going to go down. Because of course I bought this building for her to live here forever. And so when it came to the financing, she said, I told her, I said, hey, I just need help. I just need help until I get better, because I still had the colostomy bed. They had to do the colorectal reversal. So I couldn't assist her as much as I was able to before she went in there and before I got sick. And so the administrator said, well, it's going to be $6,000 a month. And I said, ma'am, I don't have that. And I just need help until I get better. I just need help with her until I get better. And she said, well, what's wrong with you? And I just stood up and I raised my shirt up. And she saw, I had the colostomy bag. But she said, for you, it had I want to say a 6-month waiting period. She got my mother in there in 2 weeks.
Wow.
And she said, I'll get her in here, because you have to turn over their Social Security check and any other income that they had. My mom had nothing other than that. I provided for her every need, and they took care of the rest.
Really?
Yep.
And then how long was she in that assisted living?
She wasn't even in there a whole year, and she passed away.
Oh, all right. So she did pass while she was living at the assisted.
Yeah, okay. She passed in her sleep. She had a 1-bedroom apartment. She passed in her sleep.
Well, all right.
And and in assisted living, it's the same thing. It's an apartment. They had laundry on the floor, get 3 meals a day, the activities and everything. Yeah.
Hey there, Real Estate Roundtable podcast listeners. I want to take a moment to tell you about our sponsor, I Love Real Estate School. If you're looking to get your real estate license or fulfilling your continuing education requirements, I Love Real Estate School's got you covered. As an Illinois licensed school, they offer the state-required broker pre-license course, managing broker pre-license courses, post-licensing courses, and continuing education. And the best part, you can take the courses either through their live stream with a live instructor or online home study. So no matter where you are, you can get the education you need to take your real estate career to the next level. I Love Real Estate School is committed to helping you succeed in the industry. That's why they offer comprehensive, high-quality education at an affordable price. So if you're ready to start your real estate journey or stay up to date with your continuing education, head on over to iloverealestateschool.com today to learn more. So the type of assisted living you're talking about doing is not medical assisted, meaning these aren't people with overly medical problems.
Right. They the people that I'm allowing don't require medical assistance.
Got it. And so then that really makes your requirements a lot less.
Yep.
In terms of the structure of the home and what you've got to provide and all of that, right?
Yep. And it's still like a shared housing. You have to get a business license with the city, and it's still, under the shared housing.
Got it. And so you just follow those guidelines and you're pretty much in.
Yep.
Wow. And so that's an interesting trail now I mean, it's certainly at that kind of money, that is more than interesting. That seems fantastical.
Yeah.
That's out there. And so is it the government?
You can make up to 5,000 per bed. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, is that the government paying for that?
A little bit of both.
A little bit of both. All right.
A little bit of both, which is the same thing with the assisted living home.
Okay. So it may be some sort of a voucher program that these people are involved in.
Mm-hmm. Some of them. Yep.
Okay.
Or some of them just like regular people, me and you. Hey, we want to downsize from our house. I don't want, the big house. I don't want to go into a building, or a big, I don't need a lot of stairs, which this building doesn't have a lot of stairs. But I don't want to be responsible for taking care of anything, which is why people go into assisted living homes. They don't want to take care of no grass. They don't want to take care of nothing. So we essentially doing what they're doing in my own property, where they don't have to take care of anything.
Got it. And they have the ability to park, so it's not like they are past the point of, being able to take care of themselves.
Right. Yeah. I don't want anybody that requires me to have to really provide medical assistance, because that gets more cumbersome, and you're held more liable. So I don't want anything. I want to keep it as simple as possible. It makes good money and just another successful stream of income.
Right. Well, obviously, sounds like a great program for you and for the tenant.
Yeah.
Especially since, like you said, you're probably not making that kind of money per bed on Airbnb.
Right. We're making that type of money a month on Airbnb, but per bed, you got 2 bedrooms. You're getting, you're going to make what you would make on the whole building as far as regular rent. You can make it on 1 bed.
Right.
And you got, if I did 3 beds and there's 6 beds in the unit, just say a minimum, depending on what, everything you're providing, you're making $18,000 a month.
Right.
Just a minimum of 3,000, you're making $18,000 a month.
Right. Absolutely. That's fantastic. So is your plan now for your personal portfolio or your family's portfolio, or is your plan to balance Airbnb and assisted living, or is it more to focus on one or the other?
It's the balance. Like, I think I'm going to continue. I'm watching Airbnb. They have a lot of changes in some areas. Some people are seeing a drastic decrease. Gratefully, I'm not seeing a drastic decrease, especially with the renovations that I did on mine. We saw an uptick in our bookings, but I'm leaning more towards what's more lucrative but requires less of my time, and doesn't require me to do anything other than make sure that they have what they need. So assisted living is always going to be needed, right? Airbnb may not. People may not want to continue to do that. So I'm the type of person, I'm pivoting. I'm going with the times, but right now Airbnb is still doing a wonderful job.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So your plan then is to potentially move more into the assisted living, and then just continue on with your real estate business as you have been.
Yeah. To be honest, I didn't plan to be a realtor like as a career. But whatever God has for me, I'm going to do it. But do I see myself being a real estate agent forever? Probably not. That wasn't, it was never a goal. I think it was a tool God used to change the trajectory of my family. And that has happened with me being in real estate, just my family alone probably have 5 million of that, that is brought in the income and the increase, the wealth that is brought into this family since I've become a realtor, and how it's changed the mindset of people in my family. Because I can influence people all day, right? Like I can influence people on Instagram, I can influence people on Facebook, but if this is not working in my family, that's a problem for me. So I feel good about it because I not only you can take a step back and say she's really doing what she said she's doing, and not only that, she making sure her family do it. She making sure her family good. So I walk it like I talk it. Everything that I tell somebody to do, everything that I post, I'm doing it myself, and my family is doing it. And I have to teach them, and I have to be a role model to them, an example to them before I can be that to anybody else. And if I'm not doing that, then I'm not happy.
That's a great philosophy. That really is. I think that the proof, people talk about social proof. And when you look at the proof in your life, it's your family, because they trust you enough to invest and to take the direction as you're giving it to them, and it's working out for them. And that really is your social proof. And because we all know how tough family can be when it comes to, a business, right? Support me in my business. Well, people look at you and go, your family doesn't even support you in your business. Why would I? Right?
Oh yeah. And it took a while to get here. It took a while to change the mindset. We went through some things, but we went through them. That meaning we got through them as a family, and they saw the bigger picture. And we also helped each other. So it started with my brother Shelly. He needed a place, him and his son. So I put something in place. I call it the Moore Legacy Investment. So Shelly had 2 years to come here, get his credit in order. And the portion of the rent that he was paying me was going to go towards buying his own property. So, we had just had the conversation. I had just became a realtor, and I think Shelly was about a year and a half in. And we had the conversation one day, and I was like, we got to start doing this and preparing. And I was going home to Aurora to look for a property for another client. His property popped up, and I called him right away. I said, I know we just talked about this 5 minutes ago, but it's a property right down the street, and I'm putting a contract on it tonight. He said, we ain't seen it. I said, don't worry about it. We'll see it tomorrow. And I wrote it up because we had already prepared. We knew we wanted something that low, but maybe required a little work. So it didn't require much work at all. But my brother has a 3-bedroom, 1.5 bath, 3-level townhome that he paid $80,000 for, and his mortgage, taxes, insurance, and interest is $689 a month. And as his sister gave him the portion of his rent to be his down payment, and then managed the renovations that we did on his property. And then we just kept that cycle going. So my baby brother, he has one. My oldest sister, she's in South Holland. My other brother, he's in Dalton. So my cousins, everybody's getting a property in this family.
Wow. Well, you need a bigger family, sister, because that's how you're doing your real estate.
Yeah, it's a lot of us. Yeah.
Well, that's great. That's amazing. So, I always ask my guests this question, and actually there's 2 parts. First off, if you had the opportunity to go back 4 years and tell the new Latoya, the new real estate broker, something, what advice would you give to yourself going back? What would you wish you would have done or would have known back then when you first started?
I wish I had known to always bet on myself, take risks, because, it was something new for me. I think when my mom transitioned, it made me question a lot, like, do I want to do this? Do I want to do that? And it made me come into who I really am. So take more risks, because if you don't want to go to your grave saying, I wish I could have, should have, at least if you know you tried and it didn't work, you tried, and you won't have that on your conscience. But if you don't try, you'll never know what you can do. And don't let people tell you how your story is going to be written. I was told, oh, you won't sell one house within the first couple of months, or, it takes so many years to be a listing agent. I had listings and buyers the first year of real estate and still have them. Don't let people tell you, oh, you can only be a listing agent. Oh, you should only be a buyer's agent. Do what works for you and be open and let it come to you.
Excellent. Yeah. And again, this comes from somebody who sold $5 million in her first 6 months.
Yeah.
I mean, that to me is still such a great stat, because you're right, Latoya. There are people out there, managing brokers, owners of companies, that as my students go out there and say, hey, I'm interested in real estate, they go, hey, you're not going to make any money for the first couple of years. So do you have money saved? And I understand why they say that, because they don't want people to get, sort of strung out and not have any money. But I firmly believe that it's just based on the work that you put into it. Mm-hmm. That's what you're going to get out of it. And you're proof of that. I mean, to sell $5 million in your first 6 months, and I'm assuming not a lot of that was family, right?
No. My brother was my first client, and after that, it's been a lot of my high school friends, and then it's been referrals.
So, just out of curiosity, how do you use social media?
So I use it, when I get a property under contract. It's like every one of them has a story. Like, how the clients come to me, there's always a story. So I kind of, detail their story, how I met my client and what the experience is like. So I leverage it that way. But I also leverage it, like, I don't want people to just think, oh, she's all real estate, because when they think you just is one-sided, they're timid to approach you. So I try to be funny. I share things about my family. I share things about, my life. I want to give them a piece of every part of me, but still, remain private and discreet, but letting them know I'm approachable, I'm easy to work with, and I'm human just like you. I hurt just like you. I lost my mom. And what a lot of people don't know is the year that I lost her, we lost all of her siblings. Like, we had literally a funeral every other month. So we only have, my mom, it was 14 of them. It's only one sibling left. Wow. We only have one uncle on her side. And so after she died, we buried 5 more siblings within less than a year.
Wow.
So we just had so many, losses. But I just think, the more authentic you are, stay true to yourself. If you see me, like, I do models, so you see those pictures. So I do a little bit of everything. But, to each his own. People like showing the bags, they like showing the cars and all the materialistic things. That's not me. It's never been me. I'm grateful God has blessed me to do and get whatever I want. But that's not toy. I'm not trying to sell you to go buy the Range Rover or the Fendi bag. At the end of the day, you're not getting a return on that. So I spend my money. I don't buy bags. I buy buildings. I buy bricks. So that's my motto. I don't buy bags. I buy buildings and bricks. So, and to each his own, because I'm building a legacy. Although I don't have kids, my nieces and nephews going to be taken care of. If I hear, I got something to do with it, those babies are going to be okay. So, and I have to be an example for them. So me and my siblings, we changed the trajectory, because this is the first time since the 80s that we have been owning in this family. It was nobody buying, nobody making these types of moves in this family. So it's bigger than what people may see. I love them. We all look out for each other, and it took a while to get here, but we're a unit, and to see everybody happy. The only thing we argue over right now is who house we're going to have the next party at. And when I had the house in Aurora, we had so much fun. But since I sold it, they got sad, but they understand the bigger picture. They're like, no, like, yeah, sell that, because look how much I just made. I bought that house in 2019 and sold it in 2023 for double.
Right.
So who wouldn't have? Like, I love it. I wish I still had it. But come on, it's common sense. Take it, go do things and buy things that's going to continue to generate more income. Because now, one thing I don't want to do is work in corporate America forever. So, and that's the goal that I'm working towards. It's a position to put me. Everything that I have has to take care of me. A purse can't take care of me. A building can.
Right. Right. Absolutely. Well, it's interesting because people will say, don't fall in love with the house.
Yeah.
Right. And there's people's mindset, I'm moving in and this is my forever house.
Mm-hmm.
And while it's nice, the reality of that is you took advantage of the market, of the run up in the market due to COVID, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that was why we saw properties jump, 32 to 42% during that time frame. And obviously yours jumped even more in terms of the value. So business heart-wise, I understand where you're coming from. It's a nice house, and boy, I wish I could, hang on to it. But business-wise, it made a lot of sense to you to say, look, I can take that, money and I can reinvest it into properties that will turn into more income for me and the rest of the family.
Yeah. Yep. That's exactly it.
That's a great mindset. That really is. And certainly your outlook on this, and you kind of slid it in there that you model as well. Yeah. I do want to point out that, I do follow you on social media. And so every once in a while, you'll throw up some of your pictures and I'll be like, oh my God, what doesn't this woman do? Right. Yeah. And I got to tell you, I love the stories of Dorothy's house. That's how I was aware of it, is because you'll be like putting up stories saying, hey, check this out. Check what they tried to do. That kind of
everybody loves that.
Yeah, it really is. It's interesting. It's not just, hey, I own an Airbnb and, look at the money I made. Yeah. I don't see you doing that.
Yeah. And that's never been me. I'm grateful. I have humble beginnings. My mom was born and raised in Mississippi. My dad born and raised in Arkansas, but he came here to go to school. But middle class family. But one thing I love about my upbringing, I have balance. I can get it, but if I don't need it, I don't want it. I can get anything I want. But I'm just grateful that my mom taught me just the values. Like, you're not getting no value from buying it or doing those things. Like, I still go to Aldi's. I still go to the neighborhood stores. I still go to the dollar store. Like, I'm just a regular person. Just because I have it don't mean I have to spend it. That's always been my mentality. Just because I have it don't mean I have to spend it.
Absolutely. Yeah. So if you were to talk to somebody comes up to you today and says, Latoya, I am thinking about getting in real estate today. What advice would you give that person?
First, I tell them, go to your school. I love real estate because you are a wonderful teacher and you've been a mentor too. And you really want to make sure that we succeed, because I was nervous. Remember, you're like, Latoya, go take the test. So I would say, at least get into a good school, get you, really vet the brokers, know what they are going to offer, because once you start selling, like, you have to prove yourself. That's no brainer. But once you start selling, they'll come for you. So, put yourself out there. Don't worry about what anybody has to say. Do it scared. You may lose a couple of people. Hey, they were only meant to go so far with you in the journey anyway. Thank them for their season in your life. And just bet on yourself and keep going on that road, and the right people, more people, as you go into your next chapter, your next season, there will be people to meet you there. So don't be scared. And don't be scared to lose. Don't be scared to risk anything.
That's great advice, because I think that is what a lot of people, when they get into this business, they don't know what to do, and they're very kind of timid, and they're scared. And some of it I understand, because they'll say, I don't want to screw up anything for anybody else, right?
Yeah, because you're timid because real estate is competitive. And I saw some competitiveness in people, or, they felt threatened. And I'm like, hey, you don't have to be that way with me, because what your end goal is not my end goal. Like, I'm not here, like, this is something that God told me to do. Because for one, I've been in corporate America all my life. Real estate has never been on my radar. I never read a book about it, never was interested. That was really a God seed planted in me to come forth to change the trajectory of my family. So if somebody don't want you to do it, you got to say, well, if God's telling me to do it, I got to do it, because whose relationship is more important? And that's how I look at it. Like, okay, if I'm going to lose them because of what God told me to do, hey, He's going to send more people. They weren't really for me. And so you get timid because some things are going to be shaken up. Your relationships, real estate is very competitive. So billions of people in this world, you can't help everybody. Everybody's not going to like you. So work with those that want to work with you. You're going to lose some. Hey, you can't win them all. But again, there's billions and billions of people out here. They won't know about you until you start promoting yourself. And it took a little time for me to do that, because I was timid too. Like, some things was happening behind the scenes, and I just had to keep praying and saying, God, if you want me to do this, you got to help me. And look what He did. So.
Right. Absolutely. And, it's good advice too, because, so many people are thinking to themselves, I don't want to be a pest. Mm-hmm. I don't want to be, where people are avoiding me. Have you ever heard that mindset? People are like,
yeah.
And in your career, would you say that your sphere of influence thinks that you're a pest?
No, because one thing about me, my sphere of influence, no, I'm gonna go get her. Like, if it's something that I don't know, I'm gonna go figure it out myself. Like, if I see that you are kind of resistant to telling me stuff, that don't mean I'm not gonna go figure it out, or I'm not gonna do it. I'm just gonna not ask you no more. Because I feel like if you're my friend or family or whatever, if you want to see me win, I don't have to ask for your help. You're gonna jump in. So that tells me a lot. If I call my friends and I say I want to do this, and that enthusiasm is not in their voice, that's not my friend. When people want you to do what works best for them and not what's best for you, that's how you know you're around the wrong people.
That's interesting. And so when you approach people, and you said earlier that most of your business, if not all of your business, is referral.
Yeah.
Right. Yep. And so obviously you're doing a good job for your client, because they are then turning around and telling other people, hey, you got to work with latoya.
Yep. All of my business. If you see me post that I've sold or got on contract or whatever the case may be, but you barely see me out. I go to networking events, but I also feel like you know where to go. That's another advice I would give when it comes to networking. Know where to go. You are not supposed to be in every room. And what I found, the more accessible you are, the more your value goes down. So when Toya comes on the scene, I get flooded, because guess what? Toya's not always outside. Toya goes where she's called. So, I have to be strategic about that. Plus, I have a family. I have to have a work-life balance. After a certain time Saturday, if you didn't contact me Friday, you're not seeing the properties on Saturday. Now, I won't show you, but I can get somebody else to show you, because my family time, my relationships are very important to me, and they got to get a piece of Toya too. But that is also where my joy comes from. That's where I get re-energized when I'm around my family, my friends, my loved ones. That's how I get re-energized to come back and kill it in real estate. If I'm not getting that, it's going to start falling off.
Well, I have learned a lot today in terms of your whole family story, because I honestly don't remember if you've told us, and maybe you had, but I don't remember the whole. I mean, I knew your mom had passed, obviously, but I didn't know that you had been sick. I didn't know, as much as you've been doing with your family. I do see a lot of your posts with your family, and you guys seem to be a pretty tight-knit group, but it seems to me, in listening to you today, that yours is a story of family.
Yeah.
It really
family
does.
Family and faith.
Love that. Family and faith. I mean, it really seems that your commitment to your family and your commitment to your faith is what has guided you on this path and made you successful. You're putting in the work, no doubt about it. But you're being, and I love the word strategic there. When you use that, you're being strategic about your business, and you are in fact balancing your work and your life and your home life, because that's what's important. That's what your mother and your family has taught you.
Yeah.
And I got to tell you, Latoya, I don't think there's a better legacy for your nieces and nephews to be able to look back at some point in the future and say, man, our Aunt Latoya is the one who started the train moving. Sure, it was with grandma, who taught her, but Aunt Latoya is the one who got everybody moving on the train. And that ultimately, in addition to the buildings and the things that you're going to leave for your family, that is, in my estimation, going to be your greatest legacy.
Yeah, it is. It definitely is. Like, I can sell $100 million in real estate, but if my family ain't good, and I know people like, family, they have problems, but sometimes you are the change. You're the one sent in your family to change the trajectory of your family. And if you are not forgiving, you can miss your blessing. When I was going through what I was going through with my family, and people are like, oh, you're going to help them after they did it. If God told me to help them, I'm not going to miss my blessing. And so I just think, like, had I not gotten into real estate, we would not be here. This family would not be where we are. So yes, I may have lost some people, but my family, we are tight. We are 10 toes down. We stuck. Ain't no, and I have a big family on both sides, my dad and my mom's side. I have so many cousins. So everything that I lost was worth everything that I gained.
Got it.
Even the sickness, even with me getting sick, I realized it wasn't an attack on me, because my family looks to me for my faith. They know if Toya says okay, we're not going to worry. So I knew that I was being attacked, not because of me, but because who's watching me. So if I give up, I got a whole family that's about to give up. Now I got to get back up. I'm going to get back up. And I got back up.
And not only did you get back up, you have kicked ass.
Yeah.
Yeah. during your little over 3 years here in the business. Well, I want to thank you, first of all, for taking time out of your schedule, out of your family's life to spend.
I'm about to go to Iowa.
All right. Well, I understand, but I appreciate you doing this. And I think that people in listening to this will understand, the genesis of what started you on this process. I love, where your mindset is going, because so much of this business is about mindset. And, I think anybody listening to you and watching you here will understand that you've got a mindset, and it's all about your family, your faith, and your work-life balance. And so thank you so much for doing this. Now, can I ask you, a lot of times I will get podcast listeners who will say, hey, can I reach out to your guest? So is that okay if I put your information down below that people can reach out?
Yep. My Instagram handle is It's More to Her. I used to have It's More to Real Estate, but because I do so many things, I changed it to It's More to Her, because I do so many things other than real estate. So you can find me on IG at It's More, Moore to Her, which is my last name, Moore, and Facebook, Latoya Moore. And you can go to my website if you are interested in the Airbnb courses that I'm going to be having. In addition to the other workshops about home renovations and home buying, you can go to www.moore2realestate.com, which is also on my IG handle.
Excellent. So I will put all of that, just so everybody knows, I will put it in the show notes in case you didn't get it. But I thank you for allowing people to do that. And really, once again, I really appreciate you doing this, and you have a fantastic story, and I wish you continued success. And I have no doubt, I have faith that Latoya Moore and the Moore family is going to continue on down this path and become, a legacy family.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are. Just stay tuned. More to come.
Thanks so much, Latoya.
Thank you.
Thanks again to our sponsor, I Love Real Estate School. Thanks for tuning in to the Real Estate Roundtable podcast. I hope you enjoyed hearing from our amazing guests and you picked up some valuable tips and insights that you can use in your own real estate business. If you liked what you heard today, please take a moment to like, subscribe, and share our podcast with your friends and colleagues. Your support means the world to us and helps us bring you more great content in the future. And if you're an agent who's interested in coaching, I'd love to hear from you. You can contact me directly through my website, myrealestatesalesmanager.com, or connect with me on social media. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you the next time in the Real Estate Roundtable podcast.